heroes. Avatar Way of the Water really had me wondering if it was worth all the hype. And I've become more of a fan than I thought I originally would. Now, this is an imprint of the first film. So, whether you liked it, the first one or not, you'll probably feel the same way about the second one. And as for the kind of simple plot that goes with these Avatar films, it makes it more digestible. With Pandora being literally a completely different world and everything gets taken in, it makes following along a lot more simple. However, there is a ton of foreshadowing, metaphor, and story elements that go into the plot that if you can take a deeper meaning out of everything that comes with it. Now, the cinematography and the CGI is definitely top notch and go hand in hand. I didn't know this till after I watched the film, but apparently the frame rates go up whenever you are watching anything that happens underwater or anything that is like an action based scene. And this is so that you can follow along. And that's definitely something that I noticed and took note of, was that it is really awesome to see the action scenes, and the CGI taking place of everything means there's not a million cuts happening all at once. This is a movie that I definitely recommend, and you should go check it out if you're interested. But I'm going to get into spoilers now. So, for those of you who haven't seen the movie or don't want to be spoiled, now would be the good time to go down below, hit the subscribe button. Every sub helps out, and like the video if you enjoy this types of content, these reviews that I put out. And as for everyone else, well, this film is long. It's it's really long. It's 3+ hours, and there's a lot more characters. So the kids are taking front and center, and the Jake and what was her name, Natiri. They really kind of sit back, which is weird because Jake is still kind of the main character because he's narrating as the movie goes on. So Natiri really gets the worst of it, as they're kind of just spending most of their time griping on the kids for every time they're doing something bad. And the movie is really long, so the character progression kind of becomes subtle, if not, you don't really see a lot of it from the kids. Now, I think this works because it stays consistent. The kids do actions that happen over and over again, sometimes more annoyingly than others. But because it's consistent, the plot hooks into this, and they take their character, and it is this whole growing portion for Jake to actually see, the middle child, the son, and also for him to realize that his kids can't really be kids anymore, and he's setting up for the third movie in him. I'm no longer going to run away, because we do start out with him wanting to run away, wanting to protect his family, choosing that family is more important, but then overall realizing that the best way for him to protect his family is to fight. However, Natiri kind of has something flipped, where she sees more pride in the tribe, but she now she sees the importance in her family and prioritizing her family. So very human qualities, and it's a very human story. Like, we follow these aliens to say the least, and they definitely they show problems that we would see probably in like an 80s movie, school movie and stuff like that, but they're out in the wilderness, and it's the same as the first movie, where it's all about the ecosystem, but there's a lot of references that take place to like the Vietnam War and military and colonization. Really, I feel like the whole Avatar series that's going to be coming out is like a thesis of the Heart of Darkness, right? It's like the humans are the savages, but they see the non-civilized people, quotations, as savages, and it just kind of, the irony of it all kind of fits in. That's really the best way to describe it if you've actually never seen the series before at all. But I mean, it is a simple plot. It is, I don't want to say predictable, because there are it is weird because there's not really like moments where you are trying to predict what's going to happen next. But you're not surprised when they happen. What it's really doing is setting up the world, because it's doing the same things that the first films do. Like, the kids are having to relocate and having to basically assimilate like their father did in the first one, like Jake did, and you're seeing that journey, but you're also seeing the same thing from what's his, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Colonel Quarch. Quarch? I'm gonna say Quarch. I'm probably butchering that. I'm sorry, but the Colonel, the main villain from last one, he's they don't they focus on him a lot more, where he's now in an avatar body, and I really liked his story because he essentially went through the same process that Jake went. He went through the first movie, but in his own way. And you know, he's a villain, and he's kind of reaching out. And now he has kind of like this son character, and you can. What really brings it together is that all all these characters are CGI, right? And the aliens, they got bigger eyes, and their faces emote a lot, and their ears move, and so the CGI works. It looks incredible. It looks ridiculous. You actually feel like these people could exist. These aliens could exist. That Pandora is real. That's how well it was. I ended up accidentally watching the film in 3D. This is kind of a side note. I think you can watch the film however you want, but there was always kind of a regret of mine of never seeing the first film in 3D, because I heard that's basically the only good film to watch in 3D. This one was good. This one ended up being really good to watch in that, but that's besides the point. Really, each character's when I was saying it's a slow burn and it's subtle with the kids, and it's kind of something we've already all seen before. It's making we as the audience grow reattached to the world, to the scenes, because there is a very drawn out, death scene. We're watching the humans come down and hunt some animals, and it you feel for it because one, it's really drawn out. It's You have to listen to the whole process, and you have to watch the whole process as it's happening, and it's all for something very selfish and minute. Therefore, it kind of tarnishes, and you up until this point, this is right before the climax of the film, they've already established a relationship between the ecosystem and the people, which the audience is shared for as well, and the movie makes you hate humans because boo us. uh but again, like I was saying, this really works with the CGI. When I was saying that everything, the only time the movie really yells exposition at you is when Jake is talking. um and it's very he narrates a lot in the beginning, and then randomly, like in the middle of the movie, for like one, just to update us what's going on, and then at the end of the movie, I don't know, narration that always, I don't know, it didn't bother me. Sometimes it's a cop out, but it didn't bother me. In this one, I feel like a lot of the facial features and the way they were acting or emoting with the faces, with the characters, really told a lot of the story, because there wasn't a lot of times where people were like, this is how I feel. But there are some times with the kids, and because the planet itself is kind of a character, you're some of the plot lines are left to be continued. And I don't know if they expect us to watch this movie knowing that there's gonna be four films in total with it, or not. But either way, if you're watching this as a standalone film, it can be kind of like, but are we gonna get back to that? Right? Because in the film's so long that they'll start something, come back, and start another thing. So overall, I think overall it ties a nice bow at the end, at the climax of the film. Everything kind of comes together, everything kind of makes sense, but it does feel like there are some plot lines that are left hanging, and you're like, whoa, we never got back to that. And so still good story, still good story, and it keeps you enticing. You never feel bored or left out, because there's always drama going on, a little bit too much drama. Again, like Jake and Natiri, the mom and dad, literally their whole purpose in the film is just to get mad at the kids. That's the only time they show up, is when they're mad at the kids. They've turned into parents 100% of the time of what a teenager would view them as. It's kind of funny, but at the same time it's kind of annoying, because it's like, I would like to just see you guys be a family for a second, instead. Like, it's just kids go off, have an adventure, get in trouble, and then mom and dad get mad at them. This happens like 5 times in the film, where they're just like, why would you do this? What is wrong with you? I was just like, okay, like, it's just rinse and repeat. Like, oh boy, just spank them already. Okay, just kidding. But like I was mentioning before, the cinematography is freaking awesome. What's kind of something like in like you look back at the old Western films, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Um, they were the ones that kind of started where there's a gunfight and the cowboy pulls out the gun and the camera is at his waist, at his holster, and he pulls out the gun and you see him shoot the other cowboy. And this is really cool because the kind of what I'm talking about is what's happening in this film. It's There's not a lot of scenes where they're shooting and then it cuts and then someone gets killed. A lot of times you see someone getting impaled by a spear. You see someone getting shot with by arrows. You see people getting picked up and flipped over and thrown. It like there's no cuts. It's all there. The camera's centered and it looks fantastic. The choreographing is great. You never confuse that's what's happening. And there are some moments where people just pop off and you're like, whoa, whoa, I'm really appreciating that everything's CGI. Now I will say this. I've only seen the film once, but I think whenever like it gets into the uncanny valley, like some of the action scenes when they CGI the people as well, the humans, and if you're looking for it, I'm pretty sure you can catch the C. That's the only time the CGI kind of falters. Like they look a little more. I could be imagining it, but I feel like there were multiple times where like the people felt a little like clayish to me. So it was weird, but going back to like the foreshadowing and the elements, because I've talked about the simplified plot. I know I've talked about the plot here a lot. Mostly I was trying to talk about the characters and get them out of the way, but really I like how they foreshadowed the son's death. I like how they were scaring the colonel with the arrows, and how this was the last time whenever he was watching the video of his his original self die, because now he's a clone of a Navi, and he sees the arrows and those arrows keep appearing, and he's like, oh, it's almost like the crocodile in Peter Pan for Captain Hook. So there's a lot of neat things there that I appreciate. I mean, and then there's some obvious things where like the middle child has the actual blood on his hands for what has happened, and but I think it's good to have very obvious things as well, because everyone can catch him, everyone can feel, can have that sense. And again, nothing is really just being told to you to feel a certain way. And I love that about the film. I love that everyone is allowed to interpret it, but again, still simple plot, and it still kind of falls in line the way that it you would expect it to. So overall, I think I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Kate wanted to immediately rewatch it again. So maybe we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I'll end up watching a second playthrough, but I definitely recommend the film. And I don't know. It's like an 8, 9. There's huge innovations, but it is. I feel like the storytelling isn't great. It's like an 8 or a 9, like 8.5, 8.5 out of 10. Hope you have a good time watching it. Until next time, play nice.